Hello. Today we're covering qualitative research, specifically the two most common methods, focus groups and in-depth interviews. This one feels different from a lot of research videos because we're not talking about scales, sample sizes, or statistical significance. We're talking about conversation and what you can learn from it that numbers alone can never tell you. By the end, you'll know what each method is, when to use each one, how to run them well, and what to do with what you hear. Let's start with the problem. Here's a situation that happens constantly in research. You run a survey, get clean data back, and find that 62% of customers prefer option A. Great, but now what? You know what people chose. You have no idea why. Was it the price, the flavor, the packaging, the fact that it reminded them of something from childhood? Numbers can tell you what's happening, but they almost never tell you what's driving it. And the why, the motivation, the feeling, the story, is usually where the most useful insight lives. The shift with qualitative research is this. Stop counting responses and start listening to people. Instead of measuring how many customers feel a certain way, you sit down with a handful of them and explore why they feel that way. You trade scale for depth. And that depth, the motivations, the feelings, the exact words customers use to describe their experience, is what drives the kind of understanding that actually changes how you build and market things. So what is qualitative research formally? It's a set of methods that collect open-ended, descriptive responses, words, not numbers, to understand motivations, attitudes, language, and behavior in depth. Instead of asking people to rate something on a scale, you ask them to tell you about it, and you listen. The output isn't a percentage. It's a theme, a pattern, a phrase that keeps coming up. Qualitative doesn't measure how many, it explains why. There are two main tools, and they share the same goal, understanding the why, but they get there in different ways. Focus groups bring 6 to 10 people together for a guided group discussion, typically running 60 to 90 minutes. In-depth interviews are one-on-one conversations, usually 30 to 60 minutes, between a moderator and a single participant. Both use open-ended questions. Both need a skilled moderator. The difference is in what each format does best, and the next several slides are going to make that very clear. Let's run both methods with a concrete example. Crunch Co. is a snack brand launching a new line of veggie chips. Before they finalize the product and the messaging, they want to understand how snackers really feel about veggie chips, how they describe them in their own words, why they choose them or don't, and what to make someone reach for a Crunch Co. over a competitor. That's exactly the kind of question qualitative research is built for. Let's start with focus groups. A focus group is a moderated group discussion with 6 to 10 carefully recruited participants. Sessions typically run 60 to 90 minutes. A skilled moderator guides the conversation through a set of planned topics. But the magic isn't in the moderator, it's in the group. When people talk together, they build on each other's ideas. One person says something, it triggers a memory in someone else, who says something the first person hadn't thought of. Group discussion surfaces things no individual would arrive at alone, and that's what makes it uniquely valuable. Focus groups are the right tool when the group dynamic itself adds value. They're best for exploring reactions to a new concept, product, or ad before it's been finalized. For understanding how people describe something in their own language, which is invaluable for marketing copy. And for seeing how opinions form and shift in social context, which tells you something about how word of mouth actually works. But there are things to watch for. Dominant voices can silence quieter participants. Social desirability. People saying what sounds good rather than what is true is more common in groups than one-on-one. And groupthink can cause the group to converge on one view too quickly, hiding real disagreement. An in-depth interview is a one-on-one conversation between a moderator and a single participant. Sessions run from 30 to 60 minutes. Without a group watching and reacting, something different happens. People open up. There's no social performance, no pressure to agree, no dominant voice to follow. Just an honest personal dialogue between two people. And because it's one-on-one, the moderator can probe far deeper on individual experiences, feelings, and behaviors than any group setting would allow. In-depth interviews are the right choice when the topic is personal or sensitive. Health decisions, financial habits, anything someone might feel embarrassed to discuss in front of strangers. They're also better for complex purchase decisions that are hard to explain in a few words, where you want to understand the whole thought process from beginning to end, and for anything where a group setting might suppress the honest answer. Someone who'd never admit in a group that they find the gym intimidating will tell you that quietly in a one-on-one. If you want to know what a person truly thinks, without the influence of anyone else in the room, the IDI is your tool. Both focus groups and in-depth interviews need a discussion guide, not a script, a roadmap. It's a planned set of topics and questions the moderator works through, designed to start broad and go deeper as the session progresses. For CrunchCo, a guide might look like this. You open with something easy. Tell me about your snacking habits. Then you explore. What comes to mind when you hear veggie chips? Then you show the concept and watch the reaction. Then you probe, what would make you choose this over something else? And you close with an open wrap-up. Is there anything else you'd want us to know? The guide keeps the session on track, but a good moderator follows interesting threads even when they lead off guide. Here's the truth about qualitative research. The quality of the insight is entirely a function of the quality of the moderation. A good moderator asks open-ended questions, never yes or no. They probe neutrally. Tell me more. What do you mean by that? How did that make you feel? Without ever pushing people toward a particular answer. They never lead. Not, so you liked it? Just, what did you think? They're comfortable with silence, because a pause often invites a deeper, more honest answer than an immediate follow-up question. And they follow interesting threads, even when it means going off the guide. The moderator's job is to get out of the way and let the participant talk. Recruiting matters as much as moderation. Screen carefully to make sure participants actually match your target customer profile. A focus group full of the wrong people is worse than no focus group at all. For focus groups, recruit 6 to 10 participants per group and plan to run 2 to 4 groups before patterns emerge clearly. For in-depth interviews, 5 to 10 interviews is usually enough to reach saturation, the point where new conversations stop producing new themes and you keep hearing the same things. At that point, more sessions won't give you more insight. Quality of recruiting matters more than quantity of sessions. After the sessions, you have transcripts or recordings. The analysis is thematic. You read through everything, tag recurring ideas, and group them into themes. Specifically, look for 4 things: the exact language customers use to describe the product or problem. Those words are your marketing copy waiting to happen. Recurring pain points that keep coming up across different participants. Emotional language, the feelings behind the behavior. And surprises, things you didn't expect to hear which are often the most valuable findings of all. The goal is themes, not percentages. You're not counting how many people said a thing. You're identifying what the things people say are. Once you have your themes, there are several powerful ways to use them. You can build hypotheses for quantitative research. Our interview suggests that convenience matters more than health claims. Let's test that with a survey of 400 people. You can refine your product concepts before launch, based on what confused or excited people. You can improve your messaging by using customers' own words rather than your internal language. And you can write job statements based on the real motivations you heard. One important caution: themes from 8 interviews cannot be projected onto the whole market the way survey data can. But they tell you where to look and what questions to ask at scale. Qualitative points the direction, quantitative confirms it. Let's be balanced. The strengths of qualitative research. It reveals the why behind behavior, the things surveys rarely capture. It uncovers things you didn't know to ask about, which changes what you put in your next survey. It surfaces exact customer language, which is pure gold for marketing, and is faster and cheaper than most quantitative studies. The limitations are real too. Small samples mean results are directional, not projectable. You can't say 68% of customers feel this way from 8 interviews. Moderator skills matters enormously. A bad moderator produces bad data regardless of who's in the room. Focus groups can be dominated by 1 or 2 strong personalities, and people sometimes say what sounds good rather than what's true, especially in a group. Here's a quick reference to carry with you. Use a focus group when the group dynamic adds value, exploring concepts, capturing language, watching reactions form in real time. Use an IDI when a topic is personal or sensitive, or when you need to understand one person's full experience without the influence of others. Focus groups need 6 to 10 participants per group, run 60 to 90 minutes, and you typically need 2 to 4 groups. IDIs are 1 at a time, run 30 to 60 minutes, and 5 to 10 interviews usually reaches saturation. Different format, different strengths, both pointing at the same goal. 6 things to take with you. Qualitative tells you why, not how many. Use focus groups when the group dynamic adds value. Use IDIs when the topic is personal or when you need to go deep without the influence of a group. Write a discussion guide, but follow the conversation when something interesting comes up. Probe neutrally and never lead the witness. The quality of your insight depends entirely on this. Analyze for themes and language, not percentages. And use qualitative findings to shape your quantitative research, not to replace it. The best research programs combine both. Qualitative to discover, quantitative to confirm. Thank you for watching.